Welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into stories that will make you think twice before indulging your sweet tooth. What if that innocent dessert was the start of a nightmare? These aren't your typical campfire tales. We're exploring real events where desserts became the center of terror. So, grab a seat, maybe skip the cookie, and get ready for 3 true dessert horror stories. You might never look at a dessert menu the same way again. Our first story unfolds in a small, close-knit community nestled on the edge of a sun-baked desert. Here, everyone knows each other by name, and neighbours often gather for block parties and backyard barbecues. It's the kind of place where children ride their bikes until dusk, and families look out for one another, creating a sense of safety and belonging that's hard to find elsewhere. On a bright summer afternoon, the neighbourhood buzzed with excitement for 8-year-old Leo's birthday party. Colourful balloons bobbed in the warm breeze, and the sound of laughter echoed down the quiet streets. Parents chatted over lemonade while children played tag and waited eagerly for the main event, the cutting of the birthday cake. The backyard was transformed into a child's paradise, complete with a bouncy castle, games, and a superhero-themed cake from the beloved local bakery. The cake, decorated with bright blue icing and edible capes, was the centerpiece of the celebration, drawing admiring glances from kids and adults alike. But as the cake was sliced and served, the joyful atmosphere shifted in an instant. What began as a moment of delight quickly turned to confusion and distress. Some children stopped mid-bite, their faces contorting in discomfort, while parents exchanged worried glances. Within minutes, several partygoers, both children and adults, began to feel violently ill. Stomachs cramped, faces turned pale, and a wave of panic swept through the backyard. Some clutched their bellies, others stumbled to find help, and the once cheerful party was thrown into chaos. The sound of sirens pierced the air as ambulances raced to the scene. Paramedics rushed into the backyard, weaving between toppled chairs and frightened guests, their faces set with urgency. Parents tried to comfort their children, but fear was written on every face. In a matter of moments, the happy gathering had become a scene of fear and confusion. The laughter was replaced by cries for help, and the sense of safety that once defined the neighborhood seemed to vanish. As emergency crews worked to stabilize the sick, investigators quickly focused on the one thing all the victims had in common: the birthday cake. It sat on the table, now surrounded by police markers, its cheerful decorations a stark contrast to the unfolding tragedy. Samples of the cake were rushed to a nearby laboratory for testing. Scientists worked through the night, analyzing every crumb for clues. When the results came back, the truth was more horrifying than anyone could have imagined. The cake had been laced with a potent, tasteless pesticide, one that could cause severe illness with even a small dose. The dose was enough to send several children and adults to the hospital, some in critical condition. Doctors worked tirelessly to treat the symptoms, while parents kept vigil at their children's bedsides, praying for their recovery. The community, once so full of life, was now gripped by fear and uncertainty. As word spread, suspicion initially fell on the bakery that had supplied the cake, but after a thorough investigation, the bakery was cleared of any wrongdoing. Attention then turned to the guests at the party. Someone among them had committed an unthinkable act. Police conducted interviews with everyone who had attended the party. It was during these conversations that a troubling detail emerged. A neighbour, known for his simmering resentment toward Leo's family, had been seen lingering near the cake when it was left unattended. This neighbour had a long-standing grudge, stemming from a property dispute that had divided the community for years. He rarely spoke to Leo's family, and his bitterness was no secret among the other residents. Surveillance footage and witness statements revealed the chilling truth. While the cake sat unattended, the neighbour had seized his opportunity. In a matter of seconds, he slipped the poison into the cake, forever altering the course of the day. What should have been a celebration of life became a moment of heartbreak and horror. The aftermath left the community shaken to its core. Neighbours who once trusted each other now looked over their fences with suspicion. The sense of unity that had defined the neighbourhood was replaced by a lingering unease, as everyone grappled with the reality that such cruelty could hide behind a familiar face. In the weeks that followed, the town came together to support the victims and their families. Community meetings were held to discuss safety, and parents became more vigilant than ever. The tragedy served as a harsh reminder that even in the safest places, danger can sometimes come from where we least expect it. A birthday cake, meant to bring joy and sweet memories, had become a weapon. The image of that cake behind police tape would haunt the community for years to come. A stark warning that sometimes the most innocent moments can hide the darkest intentions. Our next story takes us to the sun-baked streets of Port Blossom, a quiet desert town where the days are long, the nights are cool, and secrets seem to linger in the dry air. It was here that the Miller family, eager for a taste of nostalgia and a break from the relentless heat, decided to visit the legendary Scoops Ahoy ice cream parlour, a place beloved by locals for generations and rumoured to be as old as the town itself. The moment they stepped inside, they were greeted by the inviting aroma of freshly baked waffle cones, the gentle hum of an old jukebox playing 1950s tunes, and the soft golden glow of string lights draped across the ceiling. The parlour was a time capsule, its checkered floors and pastel booths whispering stories of summers long past. As the family settled into a corner booth, savouring their towering sundaes and rainbow sprinkles, young Emily's gaze drifted to a shadowy corner. She tugged at her mother's sleeve, her voice trembling as she insisted she saw a little girl sitting alone in an empty booth, her face streaked with tears, dressed in a funny old-fashioned dress. The Millers exchanged uneasy glances, brushing off Emily's claim as a child's overactive imagination. But just as they tried to laugh it off, a sudden icy draft swept through the parlour, sending goosebumps up their arms. The lights above them flickered, casting strange, dancing shadows on the walls. Behind the counter, the elderly man who had served them their treats offered a weak, knowing smile. His eyes, however, seemed to hold a weight of unspoken stories, as if he'd seen things he could never quite explain. He watched the family with a mixture of sympathy and caution, as if warning them without words. That night, back at their rented beach house, the Millers tried to shake off the strange feeling from the parlour. But as the desert wind howled outside, a soft, unmistakable sound drifted through the halls, the faint, sorrowful crying of a young girl. The parents crept from room to room, but their children slept soundly, undisturbed by the ghostly wails. Over the next few days, the family noticed odd occurrences. Toys moved on their own, doors creaked open without a breeze, and at night soft whispers echoed through the house, just beyond the edge of understanding. The air felt heavy, as if someone unseen was always watching. One morning, as Jessica prepared breakfast, she caught a fleeting glimpse in the toaster's reflection, a young girl in a poodle skirt, her eyes wide with longing, standing just behind her. When Jessica spun around, the kitchen was empty, but the chill in the air remained. Disturbed and desperate for answers, David dove into the town's archives. He uncovered a faded newspaper clipping from 1958, its headline screaming tragedy. A fire had swept through Scoops Ahoy, claiming the life of a young girl named Lily. The article described her as cheerful, always dressed in her favourite poodle skirt, and beloved by all who knew her. When David showed Emily the old photograph of Lily, her eyes widened in recognition. The girl she'd seen in the parlour matched Lily exactly, down to the ribbon in her hair and the sadness in her eyes. The Millers realised, with a growing sense of dread, that Lily's spirit had latched onto them, drawn to their laughter and warmth, perhaps hoping to find the happiness she'd lost so many years ago. The family tried to comfort Lily's spirit, leaving out a bowl of ice cream and speaking gentle words into the empty air. But the disturbances only grew stronger, doors slamming, lights flickering, and the crying growing louder each night. Fearful for their safety, the Millers made the difficult decision to cut their vacation short, packing their belongings in haste and leaving Port Blossom behind. As they drove away, the town faded into the distance, but the memory of Lily's sorrow lingered, haunting their thoughts long after the desert sun had set. Sometimes the sweetness of desert is shadowed by sorrow that refuses to let go, a reminder that some spirits and some stories are never truly at rest. Our final story plunges into the high-stakes world of competitive baking at the Golden Whisk Championship, an annual event that draws the best pastry chefs from across the region to a sun-baked desert town. The air inside the event hall was thick with anticipation, the scent of sugar and spices mingling with the nervous energy of the crowd. Banners fluttered, judges sharpened their pencils, and the audience buzzed with excitement, eager to witness culinary history in the making. The finalists were a study in contrasts. Carol, a beloved grandmother whose gentle smile and legendary raspberry mousse cake had won hearts for decades, and Julian, a fiercely ambitious young baker, known for his daring techniques and relentless drive to win at any cost. Carol's hands moved with the grace of experience, while Julian's eyes darted with intensity, every motion calculated and precise. Tension filled the air as the two bakers worked side by side, their stations a flurry of motion. The clatter of whisks and the hum of mixers underscored the silent rivalry between them. Every glance, every measured scoop of flour seemed to carry the weight of the championship itself. The audience watched, breath held, as the clock ticked down and the pressure mounted. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed through the hall. A baking tray clattered to the floor, sending a ripple of shock through contestants and spectators alike. For a few chaotic seconds, all eyes turned toward the commotion, the spell of concentration broken. Carol, momentarily startled, quickly composed herself and returned to her station, unaware that anything had changed in her absence. She resumed her careful work, her focus unwavering, determined to finish her masterpiece. At last, the moment of judgment arrived. The panel of esteemed judges, led by the renowned Chef Antoine, sampled Julian's modern tiramisu, savouring its bold flavours and innovative presentation. Then, with anticipation, they turned to Carol's classic raspberry mousse cake, a dessert that radiated warmth and tradition. But as Chef Antoine took a bite of Carol's cake, the atmosphere shifted in an instant. He coughed violently, his face flushing red, and clutched his throat in distress. Gasps erupted from the audience as panic swept through the hall. Paramedics rushed to his side, but despite their frantic efforts, Chef Antoine collapsed and died on the spot, leaving the crowd in stunned silence. The joyous celebration of culinary skill had turned into a scene of tragedy. In moments, the event hall was transformed into a crime scene. Police cordoned off the area, and the once cheerful competition was now overshadowed by suspicion and fear. Contestants and spectators alike were questioned, their faces etched with disbelief. The investigation moved swiftly. An autopsy revealed that Chef Antoine had been poisoned with peanut dust, a substance deadly to him and notably absent from Carol's original recipe. Forensic experts scoured the kitchen for clues, determined to uncover the truth behind the fatal dessert. The breakthrough came when security footage was reviewed. The cameras captured Julian, seizing the moment of distraction caused by the crash and swiftly sprinkling peanut dust onto Carol's cake. He knew of the judge's severe allergy and had weaponized it in a calculated act of sabotage. Julian's ambition had crossed a line, turning a friendly contest into a deadly game. The baking community was left reeling, struggling to comprehend how the pursuit of victory could lead to such a devastating outcome. In the end, the Golden Whisk Championship would be remembered not for its sweet creations, but for the bitter lesson it delivered. In the wrong hands, even the sweetest dreams can become a recipe for tragedy. 3 stories, each a reminder that even the sweetest moments can hide darkness. From poisoned cake to a haunted parlour, to deadly ambition in a baking contest, danger can lurk where we least expect it. Be mindful of what you consume and who you trust. If you enjoyed these unsettling tales, like and subscribe for more. Share your own dessert horror stories in the comments below. Until next time, stay curious and cautious.